Mr. Truffesy.
Sir, can you tell us your name, spelling your last name?
Andrew Dittman, Dittman.
And sir, what's your occupation?
I'm an investigator with the St. Croix County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been an investigator?
A couple of years. I've been employed with the Sheriff's Office since 2012.
And in your role as an investigator, is part of your job, interview witnesses, take statements, things that they might tell you.
Yes,
And was that your role in this particular matter, that you were to take statements from witnesses who might have some information?
correct.
Okay. And do you recall either yourself or being present with another officer when there were interviews taken of Ryan Nelson, Joanne Cockfield, Owen Peliquin, Alex Vang, and Landon Weir?
Yes,
You were present for all of those?
correct.
Those interviews, were they recorded?
Yes.
And they were recorded how, sir?
At the time, we had visual labs, which would have been an application, a body cam application through our cell phone.
And do you recall whether or not each one of those interviews of those 5 people were recorded?
They all were recorded.
And that recording was captured and provided to the DA's office. Is that right, to your knowledge?
Yes.
I want to ask you very few questions on this, but there's been testimony from witnesses regarding what they mentioned to officers during their interview. Okay?
Okay.
You interviewed Joanne Cockfield. Did Joanne Cockfield ever tell you during your interview with him that Mr. Mew was looking for little girls?
Not that I recall. He did not say that.
If he would have said that, is that something you would put in the report?
Our job is to be fact finders and document everything as best as we can, accurately.
So your job, you're not really to pick sides, you're just kind of to get the information in and then get it back out, right?
Correct.
Okay. And in our jobs, maybe people don't think about this, but telling a police officer that someone's looking for little girls, you're not going to let that go without trying to dig a little deeper if you hear that, right?
Correct.
Okay. So if he would have said to you, I've been told by Mr. Mew that he was looking for little girls, that's something that would have drawn your attention, right?
Yes.
Okay. Same question with Ryan Nelson, sir. Your interview with Ryan Nelson, did he ever mention, or he never mentioned to you, right, that Mr. Mew told him that he was looking for little girls?
And I guess all the interviews, I was never told anything that anybody was looking for little girls.
So you'd agree, Mr. Cockfield, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Peliquin, Mr. Vang, and Mr. Weir, none of them in their interviews with you, which were recorded, mentioned to you that Nick Mew told them he was looking for little girls, right?
To my recollection, I do not believe that was ever said.
And again, for each one of these people, especially if you heard it over and over again, that might be something you would really document then, because there's continued statements regarding it, right?
Correct.
And you didn't, right?
Correct.
That's all.
Mr. Anderson?
One thing you heard over and over from the witnesses you interviewed was that this turned physical when Nikolai punched the blonde girl, right?
Correct.
Owen said he believed she punched, or Nikolai punched her, right?
Yes.
And the other boys all saw they actually witnessed Nikolai punch the blonde girl.
Correct.
And that's what turned the incident physical.
Yes. From my recollection, that's when I was told that chaos ensued, was when the punch was thrown.
Nothing else.
Mr. Truffesy?
Mr. Vang told you that Mr. Mew slapped
Correct.
So he didn't say that he punched. Right?
Sometimes, I guess people classify punch and slap. It's what the person's viewing.
Well, you'd agree a punch and a slap are different things.
They could be, yes.
You agree that you testified under oath that everyone told you it was a punch, right?
I was present during all the interviews that took place. To get to the nitpicky, I'd have to review who told me who punched and who slapped.
I guess what I'm asking you is you just told Attorney Anderson that all of those people told you that Mr. Mew punched this girl in the face, right?
That was brought up multiple times through the interviews that we had conducted, that there was punching, and I don't recall exactly who said he had been, or that he had given a slap.
Okay, if I told you Alex Vang said open hand, have any reason to dispute that's what's on tape?
I do not.
Okay. Some of those people also told you that she was knocked down into the water. Is that right?
Correct.
Some people told you that she wasn't knocked down to the water, right?
Correct.
They all told you that the injuries that were suffered on the river only occurred after Mr. Mew was attacked, though, right?
I guess, what do you mean by that?
Well, they told you that he was punched in the face, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
They told you that some of them might have told you that he was then hit multiple times, correct?
Correct.
Some of them told you that the group,
Judge, I'm gonna object on leading and also the beyond the scope of cross.
Sustained on leading.
sustained on, okay. Would you agree that some people that you interviewed explained to you what they observed happening to Mr. Mew after he was punched?
Yes.
Okay. And those descriptions included their belief that he was being attacked. Is that fair?
Yes.
And you know that after that happened, what I just said to you,
Objection leading again.
I'm not,
Let's get the question in first and then make the objection.
you know through your investigation and the interviews that you've conducted, sequentially, after these people told you what they observed happening to Mr. Mew, that's when the incident with the knife occurred, correct?
Objection leading.
Is that,
It is, but it's harmless in this instance. Overruled.
is that right?
That'd be accurate.
Yeah, okay.
Mr.
That's
Anderson?
all.
Any of the interviews you're involved in any of the interviews? Well, did you interview anyone from the Carlson group?
I do not believe so.
So you were involved with all the interviews with the boys that were inside,
Correct.
and whether, do you remember, let's start they're all consistent on the first time it turned physical was Nikolai striking the blonde girl, whether it was a punch or a slap.
Yeah, I recall, I believe it was Owen that said that he had observed a closed fist punch.
And then later he clarified, he said he believed that Nikolai had punched her, right?
Correct.
Nothing else.
Thank you, investigator. You may step down.
Thank you.
Is there another witness?
He's out in the hall.
Can we approach Judge?
Yes, you may. Mr. Anderson?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's the next witness?
Roberto Baldoza.
Mr. Baldozo, please come forward, face the clerk, raise your right hand. She'll administer the oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Please have a seat in the witness chair.
Okay.
Mr. Trofficy.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Would you state your name and can you spell your last name, please?
My full name is Roberto Baldazo, and you spell my last name Baldaza, as in zebra, O.
Okay. And Mr. Baldasso, you were on the Apple River on July 30th of 2022, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury who you were with?
I was with my wife, my 3 children, my cousin, and a friend of mine and his wife.
And had you been drinking that day?
Yes.
Okay, can you give us an idea of about how much you had to drink?
I would say the total for the day was about 6 beers.
How would you describe your intoxication level when you were witnessing what you were witnessing?
I was slightly buzzed. I mean, I was still able to walk and talk and such.
Okay. If you said to the, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, if you said to the police that you were drunk, would that be fair or not?
No, not really fair. I wasn't drunk. I was definitely drinking.
Okay. And so your family, your friends are just kind of having a lazy day on the river, is that, would that be reasonable?
Correct.
And does there come a point when you're on the river that something draws your attention?
Yeah, we were floating along and we had been stopping along the ways, just kind of meeting people and kind of conversing with other groups. We had just left the little bar. There's a little bar that you kind of climb up the hill and you can order drinks and whatnot. You needed to have cash and we didn't have cash on us, so we just left. We started to take off from there and I noticed, I didn't have my glasses on, but it looked to me like people were dancing, kind of partying. And so I told the group, I said, hey, I think there's people dancing over there. Let's go check it out. So as we started floating up, I started noticing that it looked a little bit more than dancing. I wasn't sure because I can only see like the shadows or outlines because it was so far away. And so I started to veer off to the right of the river. And then immediately my wife jumps off and takes off towards the bank. And that's when I took off and followed her.
Okay, I'm gonna just back it up for a minute, okay? Now, to be fair, I think your interview with the police, there was questions about your ability to see based upon whether or not you were wearing any type of corrective lenses or anything. Is that fair?
Correct. I actually made that a point right from the beginning.
All right, and how would you, without glasses, because you said you weren't wearing them, right?
Correct.
How would you describe your eyesight?
I mean, it's fair. I can see well enough to drive. I just can't see details that far away.
You can, is it fair to say I think if I heard you correctly, you can see shapes and outlines?
Correct. A little bit more than just that, though. I mean, I could see I can see that far away. I just can't see in detail, if you will. It's not crisp, it's fuzzy.
And when you see the people that you believe initially might be dancing, about how far away from them are you? Best guess.
I would say approximately about 60 yards or so.
Okay. And can I ask you, in terms of, I'm going to try to put this together, 60 yards away, no glasses, how would you describe your ability to kind of see that based on the distance and the no glasses? How does that?
I mean, I can't see detail from that far away, but I can definitely see people.
Okay. Do you hear what's happening?
No, it's loud.
Okay, so you can't hear anything in particular coming from that group, is that a
No,
fair?
all I could hear is water rushing.
And if I heard you right, you said then at some point you believed it didn't look like they were dancing. It looked like there was more going on.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it looked odd after a minute because there was a lot of, kind of crouching down. Some people were kind of crouching down.
Can I ask you about how long do you think this was going on in terms of what you initially believed might have been dancing and then you believed was something else?
I definitely under a minute, if I understand the question correctly.
Yeah, all right. And then you, if I heard you right, you said that your wife got up and took off.
She did. At that point, we did kind of notice that there was some people laying on the bank. And so at first she had said, I think somebody was impaled by a tree. And so as she was kind of saying that, she was leaping off of her tube to take off running. That's when I took off after her.
Okay. So although you can't hear necessarily what's going on, you heard what your wife said.
Correct. She was right next to me, elbows touching.
And about how far away from the groups that you said you saw, like, laying there, about how far away from them are you?
Oh, somewhere, I would say in the proximity of maybe 40 feet at that point, maybe 50.
And is your wife ahead of you in this?
Yes, I was
Going
pursuing
to that-
her, yes.
Seeing what you're seeing that day, did that cause you some concern for either your physical safety or your wife's physical safety?
At first, yes, my wife, because we had no idea what she was rushing into, or I didn't.
And as a result of your concern for her physical safety, what did you do?
Took off running after her.
Okay, what else did you do?
Tripped over a rock. I had my knife on the inside of my waistband, my swim trunks.
Okay.
And when I came up, the water was about knee high. There was a huge set of rocks there. So my right leg kind of got stuck on the rock. My left tripped or slipped. And I went forward and I felt the butt end of my knife kind of jabbed me in the stomach. So I reached down and did something. But I kept running towards my wife.
Did you pull your knife out?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Do you remember telling the police that you pulled out your knife? You just don't remember if you opened the blade or not.
Right, because it had jabbed me, so I don't know if I pulled it out. And the reason for my confusion is when my wife asked, so my wife was asking for a chest seal. I'm pushing up the narrative here a bit. She was asking for a chest seal, so later on, I kind of don't remember if I had pulled out my knife and kept it out when I tripped, but I remember my wife asking for a chest seal. So I turned back to my daughter, Aubrey, and she ran back to our tubes and got me a sandwich baggie. And I don't remember if I cut the baggie to make it lengthier, because it was folded over. But I don't remember cutting the bag. I remember seeing the bag cut open, perfectly squared to make it longer to cover the hole in Isaac's chest.
Do you remember that when your wife took off running, that you had said to the police that you were attempting to kind of make a threat assessment at that point as to what was happening?
Correct. I tried to scan in the area, see what was going on, because I noticed there was somebody else that was hurt on this side. So it led me to believe that it could possibly be something like that. So I was kind of just scanning, making kind of a threat assessment. I didn't really see much. So I started focusing on my wife.
And based on that threat assessment, you informed the police that you pulled your knife.
I don't recall that exactly.
Okay. If it says that you pulled your knife after doing a threat assessment, would you disagree with that?
I think maybe that's taken out of context because I didn't feel threatened at any point, nor did I pull out the knife in a thought of in defending myself or anything like that.
So when you would say to the police, I was looking into the crowd because right away my thought process, threat assessment. Where is the threat? Who is doing what? Let me get a good, summary of what's going on here. But then my wife's already en route. So I jump off the tube, take off running. I see what appears to be someone doing this, and then you make a motion, okay? Then your response is, and so I pulled out my knife, but I don't remember if I opened the blade or if I just pulled it from my trunks. Do you remember that statement?
It sounds like something I would say for sure.
Okay. And I think you said to the police, well, let me ask you this. Did you ultimately keep your knife or was it lost?
It was lost. I don't know what happened to it.
And it was lost presumably in the river?
I would assume so, yes.
Okay. And do you know what's happening? Meaning, are you able to see what's happening at that point?
Well, yeah, I was focused on my wife and noticed Isaac's body laying there. That's where most of my focus was at.
Did you notice, I think you had made mention to the police that you ultimately noticed the individual that you thought was responsible for this, right?
Oh, no, I never said that. And maybe something I said was taken out of context, but I can't see that far.
Okay.
I saw an individual run to the top of the hill, make eye contact with, and take off running, but I couldn't tell you who that person was.
Okay. So you don't have any reason to know whether or not that person was involved?
No.
And I know that you assisted and participated with your wife in trying to tend to and take care of Isaac. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And does there come another a point after that happens where you come across something in the river that you think might be relevant?
Yes, I saw the snorkel,
Okay.
which I didn't know what relevance it played at the time. I just had picked it up, and there was actually a police officer standing with me. We were conversing when I reached down and grabbed it.
Okay.
Then another gentleman ran up and was kind of screaming, that's the snorkel, that's the snorkel. I didn't know what, so I just handed it to the officer.
Was it one person or a bunch of people that came over to you?
With the snorkel, you mean?
Yes, sir.
I can only remember one man.
Okay. And if you told the police that it was a bunch of guys and they started coming at you, filming you, and I'm using your words, talking shit to you, do you remember that?
No, not at all.
Okay. It's on your recorded statement.
Objection, Judge, he's testifying.
Sustained.
Are you aware that you provided a statement providing the information I've just told you?
Yes. Yes, I actually do remember the gentleman coming at me. He was pretty animated. He was heated. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I just told the guy, I said, hey, look, I don't know anything about the snorkel. I just picked up the snorkel. I said, officer, would you like to take the snorkel?
Okay. And I guess I just want to clarify, is it one person or more than one person?
I only remember the one guy who was engaging me. There were multiple people around, but the one individual was actually engaging me verbally.
Okay. And was his verbal engagement making you nervous?
No. I wasn't nervous. The police officer was standing right next to me.
Okay. So did you believe that person was going to attack you?
No.
Okay. If you told the police that you believe that?
I told them that he was heated and elevated.
you said it was like they were gonna come and attack me. I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I looked at the officer and just threw the effing snorkel at him, right?
I don't remember using those words.
Is it, I want to make sure I understand this. Is it, well, I want to put words in your mouth either. Did you or did you not see specifics of what happened with Mr. Mew and any of the people on the river?
No,
And that was because you didn't have your, was it because you didn't have your glasses on?
I think it was a combination of the distance. I didn't have my glasses on. I mean, we pretty much arrived after the fact.
Appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson?
So if I'm understanding right, you don't remember when your knife got lost?
I don't. It has to be sometime between when I left the tube pursuing Andrea or my wife to the shoreline. Somewhere in there. It has to be somewhere in there.
Did you talked about cutting the Ziploc bag, so could it have been after you got to the shore, actually?
I don't remember cutting the bag, but I remember the bag being cut.
Okay.
I played that in my head. I just can't connect the two.
May I approach?
Yes.
For the record, Judge, I'm just going to show him a screen grab from Officer Farrell's body cam at 15 minutes, 27 seconds. Is that you assisting CPR on Isaac?
Yes,
It looks like you have your pocket knife in
yes,
the back of your shorts.
yes. Let me just,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that looks like it.
Okay. And it looks like it's on your back side of your hip.
Yes,
You testified you didn't remember when it jabbed you, when you tripped on the rock, you didn't remember if you took it out or just slid it over.
correct,
You agreed? Looks like you slid it over to your back so it wouldn't jab you.
correct. That makes sense.
So, was the rest of your group was over by a sandbar, right? If you remember,
Roughly.
kind of
On
like
the other side of the river.
yeah, kind of after you came around the bend.
Correct.
And were there other tubers there?
Yes,
And were people, was there a lot of commotion going on?
yes,
And people didn't know where the guy with the knife went, the stabber? If you
Correct.
know.
No one specifically told me that. I just kept hearing people say, where did he go? Where did he go?
Okay. And when you left to go aid Isaac, did you leave from that sandbar area?
Can you repeat that, sir, please?
When you left, like, from your group to follow your wife, was that from the sandbar area?
I can't remember where exactly we were on the river in regard to that sandbar. I can't remember if we were before or after it, but I know we were around it.
Did your group stop there and wait? Is that why they were there, waiting for you and Andrea, if you know?
Correct,
Okay. So you might have went straight to Isaac as you were coming around the bend?
correct.
Okay. Was Isaac already on the shore when you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Nothing else?
Mr. Trofficy?
Sir, if you didn't pull the knife, how'd you lose the knife?
I have no idea. Like I said, we had to make a chest seal. I don't remember, but I may have used the knife to cut the bag open to make it longer, because the gash was significantly wide and long.
Mr. Anderson?
Your You described that your knife you lost to law enforcement, right?
Correct.
And you're aware that they located one that matches the description?
I assumed so. No one actually said they found it, but I assumed
Oh,
they did.
okay. What kind of knife was it?
It was a knife called, it's made by a company called Tactical Gears.
With a Z?
Correct.
Nothing else.
Thank you, Mr. Baldazzo. You may step down.
Thank you,
Are
sir.
excused.
We have one more witness, but if I could take a brief bathroom break before we call that witness.
Sure, let's come back at 2 o'clock.
All rise for the jury.
Yes, Judge, we had, during the cross-examination of Mr. De La Cruz, I wanted to bring up the fact that during Ariel recorded interview, which I believe has been marked in the transcript, which has been marked. During that recorded interview from August 2nd, that Ariel had said to Mr. De La Cruz, the man was a quiet person. Question, it sounds like all day he was calm too, huh? You, him, the man, Nick, is he a calm person or does he get angry a lot? Question, answer, no. Lastly, Mr. De La Cruz statement, Nick's always really mellow and cool, real mellow, calm, and this was a surprise. To which Ariel said, I don't know, man, it all happened too fast, it was too fast. I wanted to bring that up as a prior statement of the witness under 90801 sub 4 sub A sub 2, because those statements are consistent with the declarant, Ariel's testimony, and is offered to rebut an implied charge against the declarant, Ariel, that he was fabricating or at an improper influence. I understand that he may not have been impeached or there was not an express or implied charge that he fabricated his thoughts on Mr. Mew's character, but they're attacking his credibility in general. So I expect the state's going to say, how do we really know Mr. Mew has such a character? The only people that they called are people who we impeached. So for those reasons, I think it was relevant and it's admissible because of their implied charge against Ariel of recent fabrication or improper influence or motive.
Mr. Anderson?
Under 90404, the permissible character evidence that's allowed is what's already been admitted. Are you aware of their reputation? Do they have a reputation for peacefulness? That's been admitted. The state has not even cross-examined anyone on that. Never suggested, they're just saying that because he's on trial. So to then go beyond that is exceeding what's allowed under 90404. And as attorney now sitting knowledge under 90801 for A2, it's only to rebut an express or implied charge against recent fabrication, which we didn't do on that statement. It's in and of itself inadmissible. We didn't accuse him of lying about it, so.
Just briefly, I don't agree with his assessment of my argument, but I think Your Honor understands my argument.
The record's been preserved. I ruled it inadmissible. Although the state used Detective De La Cruz to impeach Mr. Chaguez's credibility, it did not mean that everything is admissible. The defense may use prior consistent statements to rehabilitate the credibility of a witness, but the defense is not allowed to use inadmissible character evidence to do so. I had previously ruled, I believe on Friday, that testimony about expansive views of Mr. Mew's demeanor, his personality, his character traits on days other than July 30, 2022 were inadmissible, other than the pertinent character trait of being peaceful. That was the sole character trait that I allowed to come in, and any other descriptions about Mr. Mew's character was inadmissible. I did carve out a small exception because I thought it was relevant to addressing his demeanor on the day in question or at the time of the incident, but the questions that Mr. Nelson was eliciting from the witness went far beyond that exception. So that's why I ruled the way I did. All right, we'll take a short break. We'll come back at 2 o'clock.
And just so you know, maybe have 20, 30 minutes, and that's our only witness left for the day. So I imagine we're taking a break then to come back tomorrow. Is that what it sounds like the plan?
Unless there's more witnesses or videos or something that we can do productive.
We have a little bit to talk about exhibits, so we can do that.
All right, 2 o'clock. everyone.
Two hearts inside your eyes, can you feel the rush? Closing the gap we made, oh, how I miss your touch. Push through the ceiling now, we can raise it up. Am I dreaming? Come feel what I feel, come see what I see.
Okay, Ms. Torres, would you please come forward, face the clerk, raise your right hand?
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Please have a seat in the witness chair. Mr. Nelson.
You're Amanda Torres.
Yes,
Is your husband Ernesto?
yes,
Do you know this man here to my right?
yes.
Who's that?
That's Nick Mew.
And how do you know Nick?
I've known him for almost 20 years.
How did you get to know him through those 20 years?
Work,
Did you ever socialize with him outside of work?
yes. Probably the past 5, 6, 7 years.
You've been to his house?
Yeah.
He's been to your house? You just need to say yes or no
Yes.
verbally, or as opposed to just shaking your, or nodding your head. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Does-
Yes.
Okay. I want to ask you some questions about Mr. Mew's character, okay? Do you feel like you know his character?
Yes,
Does he have a character for peacefulness?
yes.
I want to now switch a little bit and ask you in general about July 30th of 2022, okay?
Okay.
Were you on the river that day with your husband and Nick's wife
Yes,
and other friends?
yes.
During that time, did you see people within your group drinking alcohol?
They had a few.
Did you observe anyone that was intoxicated?
No,
Did you have any concerns about anybody's level of intoxication? How about Nick in particular?
no.
I want to ask you about a knife, okay?
Yes,
Have you seen Nick carry a pocket knife before?
yes,
Have you seen him use that pocket knife before?
yes.
How can you just describe in what context or where you've seen him use that pocket knife?
He always seems to have one, like at our house with the pool, help setting up the pool and things like that, and that's about it, all I've really seen.
Have you seen him use it as a tool to fix things?
Yeah, yes,
Have you seen him use it as a sharp item to cut rope or other matters?
yes.
On that day, did you see Nick with a knife?
I believe I did, but at the beginning.
On that day, did you see Nick use the knife to cut some rope?
Yes, I think I did, yes.
Okay. At some point on that day, did you become aware that someone in your group had lost a phone?
Yes.
Whose phone was lost?
Ariel.
Up until that point, can you just describe Mr. Mew's demeanor, your observations of him that day?
He was happy. Everybody was relaxed. He was relaxed, just having a good time, just relaxing on the river.
Same character you've seen of the 20 years over that you've known him.
Yes.
When Ariel lost his phone, did you see, I don't want to know the contents, but was there discussion about what to do?
I didn't really hear much of that conversation. I just knew that he lost it, and Nick said, I'll go find it. I can go find it. I know Ariel said, don't worry about it.
Okay. Did you see Nick leave to go, in what you thought was him going to look for the phone?
Yes.
At the time that he left, what was he wearing?
What was he wearing?
What's that?
Shorts.
Had you seen him wearing other items earlier in the day?
A shirt and a hat, I think.
Had you seen him snorkeling earlier in the
Yes.
day? When you saw him snorkeling earlier in the day, did he wear his hat and sunglasses?
No,
Did he wear his shirt?
no. He put it back on when he came back.
And we'll get to that in a second. When you saw him leave to go look for the phone, did he have his snorkel and goggle with him?
I didn't notice that.
My understanding is, just to cut to the chase here, that you didn't observe anything going down, happening downriver between Nick and any other group of people. Do you
No.
agree?
Yes,
The first you learned about it is you heard somebody say something, right?
yes.
What did you hear?
Sandy said, Nick's in trouble. Nick's in trouble. Go help him.
And when you heard that, did you see people in your group leave?
I think it was Ernesto and Ariel. I think that was the only two people I saw.
Once you heard that, though, you still weren't able to, for whatever reason, you either didn't look or you couldn't see what was going on down there.
I couldn't from where I was sitting, and the tubes were, whoops, sorry, in front of me, and I couldn't really see over it. I had to get up, like stand up.
And I see you're wearing glasses today.
Yeah.
Were you wearing glasses when you were going down?
Sunglasses.
Okay, prescription sunglasses?
Yes.
So your vision wasn't impaired from lack of glasses?
No.
It was more just your positioning where you were at?
Yes.
And I understand at some point after this, you saw Nick come back to your group, is that right?
Yeah, I didn't see him walk up. I just was standing, just watching the crowd, and then he just appeared on my right side.
Okay, and now I'm gonna ask you some questions, but I don't want the content of the words, okay? So I'm gonna ask you about, did you ask Nick what happened?
I looked at him and I said,
Did you ask Nick what happened, yes or no?
yes,
And you can't tell me the words, but did Nick tell you an answer to that question?
yes,
He gave you an answer.
yeah, a few words.
Okay. Now I want to ask you about what you saw of him, okay? When you were having that conversation with him, you're standing right in front of him? Again, you just need to give a verbal answer,
Yes.
ma'am. Okay. And when you've seen him for 20 years, right?
Yes,
In that time, think you spoke with the police before, but when you're sitting there on the river or standing there on the river talking to him, how did he appear?
Well, in shock,
What's that?
in shock, just
And-
stunned and like frozen.
Okay. Have you seen him in that state before?
No,
I think you'd previously used words like ghostly white or pale.
yes,
Would those accurately describe what you saw him that day?
yeah, yes,
I think you'd said he had a ghost look on his face.
yes,
Is that what you saw?
yes,
You concluded, based upon your knowing him for as long as you had, that he appeared to be in shock.
yes,
Not like shock as in surprise, but shock like as in a physiological, psychological condition.
Yeah.
Obviously not from a medical term, but just a colloquial person term, right?
yes.
That's all.
Mr. Anderson, any questions?
Yes. So you told law enforcement Nick wasn't drinking much that day,
No.
right? No, you didn't say that, or yes, you did say that?
I believe I said that.
Yeah. You said he was dumping out his beers and putting water in them?
Oh, he does that like when we have get-togethers. at the
Okay.
house.
He wasn't on that day?
No, not that I know.
So as far as you know, there's no reason Nick would say, I was drinking a lot?
No,
So did you see injured people?
I did not. I saw the young boy on the side. I didn't know what his injuries were.
You saw he was getting CPR?
Yes,
And did you see someone else on the shore being aided?
no,
You didn't hear anyone crying for help or anything like that?
I did not. It was really loud. There was screaming and people running. But no, I didn't see anybody else injured.
Do you speak Spanish?
No,
So Nikolai was in shock and you determined that because his face was pale and what, not speaking?
yeah, he just said a very brief few words and just stood there just kind of like in shock.
Okay. Can I get a couple exhibits? 7 and 63. Was he stiff or rigid or like his body?
I would say kind of stiff.
He wasn't like relaxed at all? Or anything?
No,
I'm gonna show you a video and ask you some questions about it. This is Exhibit 60, or no. So was he like that the whole time you're with him until he was taken into custody?
yes,
So stiff, rigid, not talking, white face, anything else?
no,
This is Exhibit 85. spinning. I apologize, Judge. All right, can we have the monitor, please? Something's wrong. Sorry, I'm gonna have Investigator Schultz do it. All right, I want you to pay attention to Nikolai in this video. I'm gonna ask you some questions.
He has something like hammer in his hand.
Take a picture and save it.
I don't take a picture, take a video.
You
I
pause.
take a video.
He looks pretty nonchalant, relaxed in that video, agreed?
Yeah,
And that was after you had left the incident location, right? Doesn't look stiff.
not that I can see, no.
He's leaning
See
back
his
in his,
face.
he's leaning back in his tube and paddling along with his hand.
Yeah.
Show you another video. And so you've known him a long time. You said you could recognize that he was in shock, so I want to ask you about this video. This is the 23-second body cam of Sheriff Knudsen. I think we're ready.
Camera recording started.
Still doing all right? Okay.
What's going
Temperature's okay in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody,
Alright.
I hear somebody got stabbed,
Um,
and I fit the description.
yes, you do.
All right.
Yep. So we're working through that now.
Agreed, he doesn't look pale or ghostly white there.
No,
He doesn't sound distressed, agreed?
he sounds a little distressed.
He does?
I think so.
Okay. Why? What about it sounds distressed?
Just the way he's talking. I mean, it's not, he's more energetic, more, not just kind of sitting there.
Could also be because he's nervous because of what just happened and,
Yes,
okay. And do you know if you don't know if him being quiet was because he was afraid he was gonna get arrested or because he was in shock, right?
yeah.
You do know?
No, I don't know. Say that again?
You don't know if he was quiet and different than how he normally is because he thought he was gonna get arrested or because he was in shock?
I think in shock.
You think, but you don't know, right?
Well, no, I don't know.
Nothing else.
Mr. Nelson?
You came here to tell the jury about your observations of a man you know, correct?
Yes.
And the observations that you told the jury, were those accurate?
Yes.
Is that what you saw? Then you were asked some questions about a video. Was that at a different time than what you told the jury about what you saw?
The video I just saw?
Yeah, I think there's 3 moments in time you were asked about. I asked you about what did Mr. Mew look like right when he came back to the tube.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Yes.
And then you were shown a video about another moment in time that's
Yeah.
later, correct?
Later, yeah.
You agree that's about an hour later?
Objection, Judge, these are all witnesses, his witness.
Sustained.
Do you know what time that video is taken in relation to when you made your observation of him in shock?
The second,
The video where he was sitting in the tube, do you know when that was in time in relation to when you saw him with a white face and pale?
oh, maybe 20 minutes, I'm just guessing.
Okay. Did you, when he came back to the tubes, did the group wait at the tubes or did they leave right away?
No, we waited.
Do you know how long the group waited?
Well, it seemed like a very long time, but it's probably maybe 20, 25 minutes.
Okay. And do you know when that video was taken right away when you guys started going back down? Or was it near the exit? Or was it some other time? Do you know when that video is?
I think towards the exit.
Okay. Do you know how long the trip was from when you left the sandbar after the 20, 25 minutes that you stayed there until you got to the exit?
Is it like 45 minutes, I think?
Okay. So would you, I'm just trying to get us to the math here. Sounds like it's about an hour after when you had the conversation with him where you were talking.
I think so, yes.
Okay. In that video that we saw, were you able to see his face?
No.
Do you know what Mr. Mew was doing in that 60 minutes between the time that you described him as shocked, stunned, rigid until that time?
What he was doing? No.
Do you know if at all his appearance changed?
I don't know. I couldn't see his face.
Do you know if it did change, when it changed?
No,
Do you know if it did change, why it changed?
I don't know.
You were then asked some questions about what you saw, this 23-second video. That's a different moment in time, agreed?
Yes.
And is that happen after the video where you see him in the water or before the video in the water?
Which video?
There was a video of Mr. Mew in the back of the squad car
Okay.
that was 23 seconds long.
Yes.
Do you know, did that take place before he was in the tube that we saw or
That
after
was
he was?
after.
And then that video, could you see his face?
Yes.
When you saw his face there, did you, having known this man, think that he looked like he was in some sort of distress?
It looked to me, yes.
That's all.
Mr. Anderson?
The reason you waited 20 minutes is because Eric Von Williams was helping with the people who were injured, right?
I didn't know he went down there.
And then when you eventually did leave, it was because Nikolai said, let's go, right?
He did not say, let's go.
He didn't?
I didn't hear it.
Nothing else.
Thank you, Ms. Torres. You may step down.
Thank you.